Hello everybody, welcome back to another Destinyverse video. Today, we will be going over a build on the Threadrunner subclass, aka Strand Hunter. This build will give you infinite Suspend, which stops enemies from doing anything for 5 to 10 seconds, which will give us insane ad clear and crowd control. Using different weapons and abilities, we'll also be able to deal massive boss DPS. We'll also be getting infinite healing, and on top of all of that, we'll be getting Woven Mail 100% of the time, which, if you didn't know, stacks with resilience. So if you have 100 resilience, that will be a whopping 72% damage reduction from all sources. That just scratches the surface for what this build can do. I would first like to mention that you will need many Strand abilities for this build, which require Strand meditations. This currency is almost torturing to get, and you will need close to 1,000 of them to buy all of the abilities and fragments. Therefore, you may not be able to get everything in this video, which means you will be missing key ingredients in this build. Otherwise, you can buy the abilities at Puka Pond on Neomuna. First, let's go over our exotic armor piece of choice, the 6th Coyote. What this exotic does is simple. It merely gives you a second dodge charge. So why is this good? We'll get to that in a second. Let's go over our subclass screen, where the majority of the work is done. First of all, let's start with the Gambler's Dodge. This is a variant of the Hunter Dodge that fully replenishes your melee ability when using it near targets, which will give us the only melee available to us, Threaded Spike. For our first aspect, we will be taking Ensnaring Slam. This aspect will allow us to consume our dodge to dive to the ground, suspending everything around us. This will be our main way to suspend, so our exotic choice is starting to make a bit more sense. Since we will be having 2 dodge charges instead of 1, we will be able to constantly use Ensnaring Slam, suspending everything in our path. Next, for our grenade, we will be taking Shackle Grenade. This grenade sends out a wave that suspends targets when it hits the ground. And since this is a grenade, we can use it from a safe distance, meaning we don't have to get close to the enemy in order to suspend them. This is a good backup if you're fighting something like an unstoppable champion, where you can't really get up close and personal. For our second aspect, we will be taking Whirling Maelstrom. This aspect makes it so that destroying a tangle will unleash a writhing mass of strand fibers, dealing damage and unraveling when it gets a kill. This pairs perfectly with our exotic weapon of choice, Quicksilver Storm. This exotic allows you to shoot grenades when landing multiple bullets on a target. Kills with these grenades spawn a tangle. By destroying these easy-to-get tangles, we will proc Whirling Maelstrom, a perfect combo. Let's move on to the fragments, where every single one will be invaluable in this build. Starting off with Thread of Mind, a fragment that makes it so that defeating suspended targets grants you class ability energy. This allows us to create a loop where, when we use Ensnaring Slam, we get the kills from the suspended targets, and it'll give us our Ensnaring Slam right back. This is incredibly powerful as it gives us a lot more suspending capability and a lot more control in these rooms. For our second fragment, we will take Thread of Wisdom. This makes it so that defeating suspended targets create an Orb of Power. This fragment alone will give us infinite Orbs of Power, as we will be suspending everything in sight. And this fragment also goes exceptionally well with Thread of Warding. Our third fragment that gives us Woven Mail, which is a 45% damage reduction bonus, and if you could believe it or not, it stacks with Resilience. That means that with 100 Resilience, you could have up to a 75% damage reduction from all sources. This fragment by itself makes us basically invincible, and we will probably never die with 100 Resilience and Woven Mail. Let's think about what this means so far. This build already gives us infinite Suspend, Unravel, and Sever from different abilities and fragments. And we also just got invincibility and infinite orbs of power that we have to our disposal. Think about the possibilities that this build can offer. For our final fragment, we will take Thread of Continuity, which simply increases the duration of Suspend, Unravel, and Sever effects applied to the enemy, which is very helpful for crowd control, as we will be having all of these effects happening on everything all at once, all the time. Before I get into the armor mods, I would like to mention that there is a Guardian Forge link down below for those who don't want to go through all the boring armor mods, so that you guys can just click a link down below in the description and have all the information right there at your disposal. Now that we've got that information out of the way, let's look at our armor mods. For the helmet, we will be rolling with Heavy or Special Ammo Finder, depending on your DPS weapon. The reason you might want to use Special Ammo Finder is if you're using something like Riptide or other special DPS weapons, such as Merciless. You'll also slap on Ashes to Assets to get super energy when we get a kill with our Shackled Grenade. If you're doing endgame PvP, you can switch this for something else, as there is a very little chance that you'll actually kill something immediately with your Shackled Grenade. But if you're doing something like a regular Nightfall or a campaign, then this will be perfect for you. Also, we'll put on a Harmonic Siphon to make Quicksilver Storm create tons of orbs of power. If you do not have the Quicksilver Catalyst, you'll want to put on Kinetic Siphon instead, as Quicksilver Storm does not become a Strand weapon until you get the Catalyst. And if you're using the Strand subclass, Harmonic Siphon will only affect Strand weapons. On our arms, we will take Bolstering Detonation and Firepower to give us class ability energy and orbs of power when we deal damage and kill enemies with our grenade, respectively. Also, let's slap on Heavy Handed to create orbs of power when we get kills with our melee. For the chest piece, you can use whatever you want, from Harmonic Reserves to Resist mods. Use any mix of these you would like and have fun with it. We will be having a little more action on the pants, where Recuperation will be throwing a party. Recuperation gives us a one-time heal when we pick up an Orb of Power, and since we have so many sources for Orbs of Power, such as getting kills from suspended targets, we will be getting instant healing all the time, which, paired with the 75 damage reduction from Resilience and Woven Mail, we will be near indestructible. Let's also put on Elemental Charge to give us armor charges from destroying tangles, which Quicksilver Storm pumps out. Stacks on stacks will also give us an armor charge just for picking up an Orb of Power. But why do we need these armor charges? Well, Font of Restoration on our cloak will give us a boost to restoration while we have an armor charge, which will now decay over time. This just seals the invincibility statement. Infinite heals, a 75% damage reduction, and now a boost to recovery? This is insane. That being said though, we still have Utility Kickstart to go over. This mod will use our armor charges to give us our dodge back. This is a backup in case you don't have any dodges to dive with, in which case Utility Kickstart will get it back up to full. The stats to prioritize with this build are Resilience, Mobility, and Discipline. The other three you can choose for yourself, but it doesn't really matter. Everyone, thank you guys for watching. If you made it this far, make sure to like, subscribe, and do all that stuff, but I'm really not going to pressure you into it. Hope to see you in my other videos, and I'll see you soon.